These videos were created for you to watch along. They'll teach you about client track so you know what's going on. So best of luck with all of your data. Now here's your HMIS system administrator. In this training video, I'll be going over basic editing within ClientTrack. In this video, you'll learn how to edit the information you previously have recorded in the system, such as client demographics, enrollment information, assessments, services, or case notes. The purpose of editing information would be to go in and correct data that was not recorded properly, or maybe during an intake you did not have all the answers to the questions you needed and now you do, and you need to add that. The purpose of editing is not to record changes that might take place with a client as they are in your project. So as an example, if a client was enrolled into your project a couple weeks ago and they had a certain amount of income recorded for their financial assessment, and now we find out they got a raise, we would not go edit that pre-existing entry assessment. We would do a new assessment using either a during program enrollment assessment or an annual assessment. So we'll go ahead and jump into editing client data here. The first feature I want to go over is using what's called the edit enrollment workflow. This feature will do a very thorough job of allowing you to update any and all information that was recorded when you initially did an intake. This feature will only show up on current enrollments, so if a client has already been exited, you will not be able to use this particular feature here. You'll notice it's not listed there. But this feature is great if you feel like there were some assessments that were maybe not completed for whatever reason when you initially did the intake, or maybe there's a good bit of information that needs to be updated. Using Edit Enrollment Workflow will allow you to do that. So we're going to go ahead and jump in here. And these should all be forms you're familiar with, because these are all the exact forms that you see when you first do the intake. So this one here would just allow me to change any of the client demographics. This next page here would allow me to modify any of the family members. This would also be where I could add a family member. So for instance, if there was a child born that needs to be added to this family, I could add them here, or maybe there was a family member I forgot to add when I did this enrollment. I could add them here. Click Save and Close. This page is where it gets into who's actually enrolled in my project. This form would allow you to change the entry dates if those were incorrect. It would also list other family members here that are not currently enrolled, so if you need to enroll those family members, and this would include family members created on the previous form, you would be able to just put a check mark by them and hit save, and it would allow you to go ahead and continue through the workflow. And as you can see, it's just going to pull up all the different assessments that popped up when you first did the intake, and then this would allow you to go ahead and of course modify that information. Now you can continue on through this, and you'll see that it's going to go through all the assessments. It's also going to go through all the assessments for each of the family members that are enrolled. And eventually you'll get to a Finish button, and once you click Finish, then you're taken back to the client dashboard. However, to save some time, if for instance, maybe the only thing I really needed to update was on this form here, well, I could go ahead and just make that change, click Save, and any information I have previously made is going to be saved here. So if I go ahead and cancel this workflow, then all that information is saved, but I just don't have to go all the way through the workflow. In the same way, you can exit, or you can update exit information. So for this client right here that's been exited, maybe this exit date's wrong. I can click that blue action button, click on exit the enrollment, and I can change that date. Maybe I exited them to the wrong destination. I can record that there as well. And then it will continue on through all the different exit assessment questions. If that was all I needed to update, I could go ahead and cancel out of this workflow. If I need to get rid of a exit, and this would be if I had incorrectly exited someone that did not need to be exited, so say they never left our project, but somehow they got exited, I can get rid of an exit by clicking the blue action button and click re-enter the enrollment, and you will get a little message that says the enrollment has been re-entered, and now we can see there is no exit date, so this person is back enrolled into the project. A caveat to that feature is if the exit date is old, past 90 days or more, you'll get an error message when you try to do that. So for instance, if I were to click here and said re-enter the enrollment, we'll get this error message that the enrollment was exited more than 90 days. It can't be re-entered. A trick to this, and again this is only for times where someone was exited but really they never left your project. If you click the action button, and what we're going to do is we're going to update the exit date to be within 90 days, so then we can re-enter them without getting that error message. So what you do is you would go ahead and click exit the enrollment. We're going to update this to today, which you could do any date within 90 days. Click save. We can go ahead and cancel the workflow because all we needed to update was the date. And now we can re-enter the enrollment. So those are a way you can update both the intake information on people that are currently enrolled and also update information on the exit for people that have been exited. Now something we did learn is that the edit enrollment workflow only works for people that are currently enrolled. Sometimes you're going to need to edit the enrollment information on someone that's already exited. So we'll use this person as an example here. So here we do not have the edit enrollment workflow. Another feature you can use, however, to update assessments is clicking on review entry assessments or review exit assessments. And what that's going to do is pull up a master list of all the possible assessments that could have been done on intake. Now this will give you assessments that you don't necessarily need to do. So for instance here you can see these are only for Hopwa programs. And then it will give you a check mark by the ones that are completed. And if I click on this, it will allow me to go in and then edit these assessments that are associated with that enrollment. A couple things that are common for people to not know where to find are the insurance question and the client location questions. Those are all found within the HMIS Universal Data form. So if I click here, we'll see the client location, the living situation, and the health insurance questions here. And the other ones are pretty self-explanatory there. And that works the same way with exit assessments. Shows you all the possible exit assessment questions and allows you to go in and modify those. You can use that feature, both of those features, on people that are currently enrolled or people that are exited. So for instance, if there is just a small change you need to make, say I need to update the financial information on this particular client, instead of going through the edit enrollment workflow, if I'm familiar with the form I need to change or modify, I can just go to review entry assessments, go to financial, and make the changes here I needed to, and then go to save and close. So it can be a quicker way to modify assessment data. Also, if you need to edit the more basic client information, such as client demographics, you can get to that through Edit Client. So here if I go to Edit Client, this is where it's going to list everything from birth date to race to social security number. And this will allow me to go in and modify that. This is also where you'll find the address information for the client. You can make changes there and then click Finish. If you need to modify the clients that or which clients are enrolled in a certain project manually without using the Edit Enrollment workflow, you can do that through the View Case Members option. This will list any case member that's enrolled in that project, and you can easily update that enrollment date through this screen by changing the information there. If you need to edit information that was recorded during an annual assessment or during program enrollment assessment, you can do that by clicking the blue action button beside the enrollment and click Update/Annual Assessment. It'll show you all the family members that enrolled. Click No Changes on that. Then it will give you an option on if you want to do new assessment or update. So here's what we're trying to get at, because we are trying to modify an existing one. So we're going to update existing. What would happen here is it'd give you a list of any annual assessments or during program enrollment assessments that are done. You'd click on that, and then it would allow you to walk you through a workflow to modify that data. So that's how we would modify any annual assessments or during program enrollment assessments. Moving on from editing, one of the other data changes you might have to make from time to time would be deleting an enrollment or deleting a service or case note. So a cool thing about Client Track is even when we go in and delete something, it's what's called a soft delete, which means we can restore that if we need to. But now the only reasons we would want to delete something within Client Track is if it should have never been recorded to start with. So for instance, we would not delete an enrollment because that client is no longer in that project. We would only delete an enrollment if that client had never been in that project, but somehow they got enrolled in it. So to delete an enrollment, you would click the blue button beside the enrollment and you would click Delete Enrollment. And you'll get a little message here. And also, please note for enrollments that have multiple family members, if I delete this enrollment for this person, but because we knew all the family members were enrolled in that, if I go over to the other family members, we'll see that they are still enrolled. So we would actually have to go through and delete the enrollment for each of those family members that shared enrollment. If we ever needed to restore an enrollment that we incorrectly deleted, if you click on enrollments over here, it'll pull up the standard enrollments page, and what you'll see here is a small recycle bin icon. If I click on that, it's going to list any enrollments that have been deleted. If you hover over this, it will tell you who deleted it and when. And then if I click the restore button, it will go ahead and restore that enrollment. Now if I go back, I can see that this enrollment is back now. In the same way, if I go to services and there were services recorded, actually let's pull up the adult here and go to services. You can edit a service by clicking on the edit button here. This would allow you to make any changes you need to the service and saving it. And then you can delete a service by clicking the delete button. As you can see, it's gone. And then the same thing works with the recycle bin. This will show you in deleted services. You can restore them. Once you have restored something from the recycle bin, you want to click this exit recycle bin so that you can get back to the standard services screen, and we can see the service is back now. This also works the same way with case notes. Here, there's a case note here. If I need to edit it, I can click on Edit Case Note, make any changes I need to, click Save. If I need to delete the case note, I can click Delete Case Note, and you can see it's gone. But if I go to Recycle Bin, I can easily restore it. And there it is. So that covers all the basics of editing information, deleting it, and restoring it. Hopefully it has been informative. As always, if you have any questions, you can click the help icon in the top right and submit an issue.